quiet, please?
Fucking stupid. Fucking ass.
Thanks. Hello everyone, Josh12 back again with another video. Today I'm back with another movie review. Yes, it's been a while since I've made an official movie review for my channel. I tried to do one for Logan, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. They didn't really pan out as I planned. And then of course there was the Luke Cage review that I wanted to put out with Evil Scar 23. That as well did not pan out. Maybe one day I'll be able to do it, but as of right now, those are projects that are shelved and possibly will never see the light of day. However, there is a specific movie that I've been wanting to review for a while now, and I finally have the chance to do it. If you didn't notice from the thumbnail, the title, the comic books on the table, it's pretty almost stupidly, blatantly put out there for you by a mediocre YouTuber like myself, which is, of course, my official Wonder Woman movie review. Yes, it's long overdue. The movie's been out for a good couple of weeks now, and in YouTube years, that basically means you multiply that by whatever number. I don't know, I suck at math. And that basically means 10 years from now, it's basically old news. And I am always late to making videos that are, I guess, important in the specific genres that I'm actually interested in. However, like I told my old vice principal in high school, who always used to get pissed off at me because I used to draw like really offensive stuff on my backpack and I always was late to school. He always used to give me shit and get pissed off about that stuff. And I told him, isn't it better late than never? That's what I told him. Every single time a teacher or a principal got pissed off at me that I was late, I always told him, better late than never. Isn't that the way we should just live our lives? Better late than never. I know punctuality means something, but fuck you. How about that? How about fuck you? And now I'm here on YouTube making videos, so you can obviously see where my life has led. Disregarding all that nonsense, I'm here to review Wonder Woman. It definitely took a daunting while for me to actually check out the film in theaters for two reasons. Number one, DC films have been very lackluster and divisive, and I just don't want to go and waste my time with a DC film that's going to piss me off. So Wonder Woman was just one of those things that I didn't want to waste my time on unless it was very well received, and this movie was. But the other thing that also really got me antsy about, should I see it in theaters, should I just wait, had to do with a lot of fruity-ass douchebags and feminists and SJWs who used this film to basically progress their social and political agendas, which I really don't like the idea that this film has been used in that way. I mean, like, a character like this deserves respect, which is the main reason why I saw it in theaters, just out of respect, out of the character and love for said character. But I just really don't like the fact that so many people have tried to use this film for their own kind of personal agendas. I think it's horseshit. The fact that comic book and the superhero genre have become politics in a way, it disgusts me. But whatever, I digress. I needed to see this movie, not only just because of respect, but I needed to see, does it live up to the hype? Is it really that phenomenal of a masterpiece? Is it perfect? Are all the women just crazy? The ones who went to the premieres and got the special screenings and got to do selfies with Gal Gadot? I don't fucking know. But I had to see it for myself and judge it with my personal subjective opinions and what I see to be great. And I needed to see, is it as good or better than The Dark Knight like a lot of people have said? Well, in today's movie review, I'm going to break it down and tell you my official thoughts on the film and see if it really is the masterpiece that everyone seems to be thinking it is. So let's get into it. Wonder Woman 2017, directed by Patty Jenkins, the fourth film in the DCEU. Let's get into this. Now, before reaching towards my final verdict, keep in mind my review will contain spoilers. The movie's been out for pretty much all month, so if you've not seen it, tread lightly. And of course, if you have seen it, well, spoilers. Now let's begin with the story of this film first. Regardless of the many writers the story has, the film is pretty straightforward and simplistic for the most part, especially in comparison to its previous endeavors in the DCEU, which have very pretentious and convoluted plots. The film has 3 different timelines it follows. One is present day, second is Diana's childhood on Themyscira, and third is her adventures during the Great War with Steve Trevor. Overall, the plot of this film is consistent with its tone and characters, which is a great thing. Definitely at times has the basic formulaic tropes of other superhero films of the time, but unlike those majority and of course its contemporaries, Wonder Woman handles its fictional characters very well, and of course within its time period, which is also the World War I era, and it handles it completely greater than any other contemporary period piece superhero film. It's not stupid, it's not hokey, it doesn't ruin the real world significance or history of what that Great War meant, which is something that I really loved about the movie first and foremost, because I do love period pieces, and I'm not a big fan of superheroes that handle with period pieces, specifically when they try to change and impact history. It's something that I don't really care for. If it's not Watchmen or like a specific scenario that asks for it, like The Flash changing history, I don't really feel like there's a purpose. However, Wonder Woman does it perfectly, where it completely has a giant impact in the ending of said war. However, it ends up being so subtle with its impact that it doesn't take the credit for anything that the war has to end off on. So it's not all about, oh, the Great War was ended with the great powers of a superhero fictional character. It was ended by people who were real and protected their countries by sacrificing their lives, which was respectable and a great approach to that story. If there are any problems with the story or the narrative that I had a big issue with, it has to be the history of the Amazonians. Disregarding the amazing artwork by Houston Sharp, the Amazonian history is quickly glossed over. We don't really focus on it that much, and there's not really any real context as to how they, for a group of people, thrive on that isolated island, or how they have so much knowledge on various languages and cultures when they live outside of the world, and they never leave and are completely isolated and have lived there since the death of the Greek gods. It doesn't really make that much sense, and I just wish there was more context as to why they knew so much about anything. Second, other things I didn't really like about the story was the inability to truly explain properly Diana's powers and abilities. At the beginning of the movie, at first she has the standard superpowers that most characters have in the genre, which is stuff like super strength or heightened reflexes and of course fighting skills. But at the end, by the time you reach the final conclusion of the film, she basically becomes this god killer character who can't be really defeated, and the second she loses someone she loves, she becomes a fucking Super Saiyan and starts shooting Kamehamehas at the bad guy. So, yeah. It would have been nice to have a little bit more context as to how that works, but whatever. It is what it is. It was cool, I guess. And of course, finally, the last problem and issue I had with the story is simultaneously a double-edged sword, considering that I actually really like this scene, and I really wish that it could have headed in a very different direction. And what I'm talking about is, basically, by the end of the film, Diana comes to a crossroads where she's fighting the main bad guy, or at least one of the main bad guys, and at first her whole story thematically follows her journey with this desire to stop Ares. But as soon as she does this act that she feels will stop the war, she realizes that her actions have led her nowhere. And it's an amazing moment where Steve Trevor and her have this great argument, and she believed so much in her ideology, it was completely wrong. And the fact that it took Steve Trevor to really show that people are fully capable of deciding their own actions, whether good or bad, and just by killing this one evil so-called god, fictional character, doesn't mean you're going to change the world. So I love the fact that they had that inclusion. It's something that not a lot of superhero superhero movies deal with. It's pretty much just, oh, the bad guy's about to destroy the world with a light beam. It's time to kill him or defeat him or throw him in prison. But in here, basically Diana saves the day by stopping this guy, but she's having a real internal debate with herself as to whether or not it was a good decision to even go with Steve Trevor and do any of these things. It was an amazing moment for the story and probably its greatest moment. However, towards the end, that whole idea of redirecting the story completely changes, where it just becomes all about the big villain revealed and action schlock continues. I really feel like that was a big missed opportunity and drop of the ball. The other things I can excuse, that one moment I feel like if the story kept on pace with that moment between Diana and Steve, God, this movie would have just been a complete 10 out of 10. Now we're done with the story, let's get on to my next bullet point, which has to be Patty Jenkins as a director. In the end, I like Patty Jenkins as a director. I loved her previous film, Monster, which I thought was an amazing artistic rendering of the inside mind and psychology of a sociopathic serial killer, and she just does a great job handling these characters and the vision of this film. So that's something that I have to applaud her on, and because of her great success with this film, she's gotten a lot of praise, which I feel like is deservedly so. With that being said, if there's anything I really didn't like with her directing that I feel like she truly dropped the ball on, has to be the CGI incorporation and action fight sequences. During the course of the film, her inexperiences with these technical fields illuminate greatly. To be honest, sometimes it's just blatantly and borderline awful. I mean, for example, when young Diana is running away from her family and she's falling off this cliff in the city, she gets caught. However, the whole sequence where she begins and ends just looks completely terrible. It doesn't look good at all. Not to mention Steve's escape from the enemy camp looked terrible. The explosions and action scenes just didn't look right. It was just bad CGI all over. As for the action fight choreography, I will give credit to Patty as a first-time big action director handling these great action scenes. I think she captured some really good shots. And also I have to give credit to Gal because she did an amazing job like handling the stunt work on her own, and not to mention she did a lot of her stuff while pregnant, which is very admirable. But the fighting and action just comes off as amateur. Not to mention Patty's overuse of the slow motion. Shots just became so dreadfully annoying after a while. I mean, sometimes it worked, but it wasn't needed every fucking time Gal Gadot fought. And that was the major problem. I mean, Gal Gadot has a lot of fighting and action sequences in this movie, and majority of them have dozens of slow motions. I mean, like, I'm just saying, there's some that you have to do that looked very fucking cool and are very compelling sequences, like No Man's Land, or when she's kicking German ass with the lasso of truth and stuff, and about to throw a tank and, you know, punch a building. But you don't have to do it every single time, especially one right after the other. Like, we don't have to see a slow motion, like, swooping leg kick. We don't need to see that. It's cool for, like, a trailer sequence. But for the movie, it was completely unnecessary and she overdid it. Now we're getting into brass tacks, the essentials of the movie, the cast and characters. Let's start off with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. First off, I have to be blunt and frank. No offense to her fans or the multiple fans of the DCEU, Gal Gadot is not a good actress. I've been following her career before her casting in the DCEU, and I have not liked her. Everything she's been involved with, whether it be the Fast and Furious franchise, I just have not liked. Granted, the Fast and Furious franchise isn't really known for its great acting talent. Regardless, everything else that's not Fast and Furious, I've also not really liked. So there's not really a said movie that I can say that I truly loved her in. However, after watching the movie, I fucking loved her so much as Wonder Woman. Words cannot explain how much I loved Gal Gadot. She may not be the strong, demanding Wonder Woman of the animated series, which I would have preferred more, but she does play the character the way she should be played. She's not another Batman. And that's something I really want to point out in this review, which is there's this thing where a lot of actors and filmmakers feel like every actor needs to take their superhero role seriously by just playing Batman or just being another kind of Batman or Joker archetype, and that just tonally doesn't work for a majority of comic book characters in both Marvel and DC. She also takes a really nice page from the Christopher Reeve playbook and rides the line of being serious but fun-loving simultaneously. She's cheeky and loves what she does, which is something that's highly missed in Henry Cavill's Superman. It's just so amazing to see someone in this DCEU that actually enjoys being a super person and saving people. And Gal's acting in this movie, once again, is just so earnest. It comes off as charming and endearing. And I flat out love her in this movie. She's just completely lovable. But with that being said, let's move off of that and into her co-star, which is Chris Pine as Steve Trevor. Chris Pine is a good actor, and Steve Trevor is a great character who's essential in the Wonder Woman mythos, and of course the love interest to her character. And he's great. He's fucking great in this movie. I liked him a lot. I liked him a hell of a lot more than I thought he was going to be, considering that the character of Steve Trevor in the context of a period piece film in this DCEU is a one-off character. Granted, there's been rumors and hints that Chris Pine could come back due to contracts, but at this point in time, in the context of this film, I think he did a great job. He was funny, interesting, and he completely complemented Diana's character perfectly without coming off as a so-called woman of the relationship. Chris and Gal are definitely the true saving graces of this film. They had amazing chemistry, amazing charisma together, and you feel for them when they're together and when they're unfortunately separated. It's just one of those relationships that's completely irreplaceable and is the significant relationship out of the big ships in the DCEU. Granted, there's only one at this point, which is Supes and Lois Lane, which, in my personal opinion, is very lackluster in comparison. But with that being said, let's move off into the rest of the supporting cast, which are the Steve Trevor Rebel team. I know a lot of people who watched the film, these characters were their biggest divisive opinions. They didn't really perform well for these divisive fans. For me personally, I didn't really care. I fucking loved the story between Diana and Steve and their relationship so much that I didn't care for the so-called wasted potential with the Indian guy or the Spanish guy who wants to be an actor or the Irish guy who's a sniper who doesn't want to shoot anybody. It's just, I didn't care because I love Diana and Steve so much, and their relationships with those characters felt so great together that it didn't matter if they did anything important, at least from my perspective. And once the big moment happens after the victory at No Man's Land, their scenes together, drinking and singing and dancing at that bar, was so heartfelt. It's basically, that whole sequence is the heart of the movie. Now for the Amazonians. Considering the Amazons don't really have a significant purpose with the film, not to mention majority of the cast members on Themyscira have limited speaking roles, there's not really much to really talk about them. They're a non-existent portion of the film. So I'm just going to talk about strictly Diana's two mommies. We have Connie Nelson and of course Robin Wright. They're kind of the two real moms and dads archetypes for Diana's upbringing. And for the most part, let's start off with Connie Nelson as the queen. Originally, she was supposed to be played by Nicole Kidman. That specific role was meant for her. Unfortunately, due to various conflicts, Nicole Kidman had to drop out. And now she's going to be a part of the Aquaman movie, portraying Aquaman's mom. So, yeah, there's that. But for this film, Connie Nelson, I felt she was okay. She was very just whelming. She didn't really do anything for me. She isn't amazing, but considering she's just like every other DCEU parent, I can't really hold that against her, because when you think about it realistically with all the DCEU movies, every single DCEU parent either has two kinds of paths, which is either A, they give terrible fucking advice.
What was I supposed to do? Just let him die?
Maybe.
Or B, they fucking die. It's pretty much the ongoing theme with DCU parents in this fucking film franchise. I guess all I can say to that is, well, I can't wait till Justice League when Barry's dad gives terrible parental advice to Barry through the walls and confines of prison. Can't wait for that. As for Robin Wright, on the other hand, I actually feel the complete polar opposite. Robin Wright was fucking awesome. She kicked fucking ass. She was completely boss in every scene she was in. She's just brilliant. Unfortunately, she fucking dies at the end. Yeah, she basically dies like Steve Trevor. She's a casualty of war, so to speak, and that is the last we will see of her. I think was a big missed opportunity for a character that I feel like could have had great potential, but granted, her death sets Diana on her eventual goal throughout the film, which is to seek out Ares out there in the war. Moving off of that, let's get into the villains of the story. Villains! Yay! It seems that DC and Warner Brothers seem to take a lot of stuff from Marvel, and one of the major things that I see as an ongoing theme with the DCEU films is that they're taking the Marvel rule of having bland, uninteresting villains. The main German bad guy is played by Danny Huston, and I actually personally like Danny Huston. He's been in a lot of projects that I've enjoyed. Obviously, he has a major ongoing betrayal on the American Horror Story series, and I just like him. I think he's just a good actor. Unfortunately, he's just the generic bad guy in this movie. He's generic evil German guy. That's all he really amounts to. He even sounds like an evil German guy. He has really no depth other than the fact that he wants to kill everybody just for the sake of killing everybody. And also, he gets like this super strength from sniffing this unexplained pixie dust. Yeah, that happens. It's really dumb. But anyways, moving off of that, Ares. Ares is played by the wolf guy from Harry Potter. I'm pretty sure everyone remembers him. And I liked him, but I liked him before the big reveal that he was Ares. We get to see this character roam around in the story before the major events with the third act, and I personally liked him then. Unfortunately, when it comes to the big reveal of the identity of his character, his master plan to kill humanity, involvement in the creation of Diana and the purpose of what Diana is, which is the god killer aesthetic. And once all that shit goes down, I really lost all interest in his character. I really felt like they should have just kept us knowing that he was the god Ares, but not tell Wonder Woman. Like, just tease it and then just leave it for another movie. But yeah, he's revealed right after that. He has his big fight. He loses, of course. And that's it. And also, I really didn't like his suit. I mean, just look at that artwork. That is Ares. Look at that Perez Ares. That's how he should have looked. Not that stupid hunk of junk, like shrapnel nonsense. He looked stupid. That is how Ares should have looked. It would have been far more iconic and badass. And it is what it is, but at the end of the day, I would have been a little happier if they went with that. It's just the superior route. I'm just saying. Look at it. It's fucking awesome. But of course, finally, we move on to the last villain of the story, and that is, of course, Dr. Poisson, who I actually like, to be completely honest. I mostly liked her because she was menacing and mysterious. She had a shroud and a shade of anonymity that I really enjoyed, which I liked about her character, is that she was so dark and demented, yet we knew nothing about her, and you knew that there had to be something behind her that made her want to do the things that she did in the Great War, that I just found her so compelling and interesting. She was so underutilized, granted, but there was just something about her that I just could not get out of my head. What can I say? I like that Richard Harrow-esque person. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I pretty much talked about every single bullet point I wanted to discuss in this big movie review. Sorry if it was very elongated. Right before I end it and get into my conclusion, which is going to be my final verdict for this film, I quickly wanted to talk about the music of the movie, which obviously is just as big of a part as the cinematography or the editing or the writing of the movie. The music was composed by Rupert Gregson-Williams, and I have to say I was not a big fan of his score. His score doesn't work for this movie. I actually listened to his score just without the actual scenes, and I have to be honest, I liked his score without the movie. I feel like his music that he provided for this movie, the stuff he composed, works better as its own score versus being a part of this movie. It was a mishiring of getting him to score this movie. His music was good outside of it. If you listen to it, it's decent, but it's not a true Wonder Woman score. I feel like he didn't really capture the essence of what her theme should be. Granted, Junkie XL and Hans Zimmer didn't really do that great of a job either. I know the big theme is something that a lot of fans love, which is okay. I feel like the theme is good for when Diana's doing some kicking ass, but when it comes to an actual theme, I feel like Wonder Woman is missing that component. And I feel like a superior choice to create a theme for her and a score for her film would have been composer, and sorry if I mispronounce and butcher his name, but Ramin Djawadi. He's worked on a lot of amazing projects like the first Iron Man, Pacific Rim, not to mention two of my favorite HBO TV shows currently, Game of Thrones and Westworld. So that's really all I can say. That's all my bullet points. At the end of the day, let's get into my conclusion, my final verdict for this film. Honestly, this is a movie that was highly hyped, and it was something that a lot of people considered to be a masterpiece. A lot of fans considered it to be even better or as good as The Dark Knight. Do I think so? Not really. I will say it's definitely the best DCEU film, but it is such a great movie, and it is groundbreaking, and a lot of the praise that's been heading towards Gal Gadot or Patty Jenkins is well deserved. They deserve a lot of the praise they're getting. So with that being said, my final verdict for Wonder Woman is a solid 8.5 out of 10. It was a good, enjoyable film. I will say it's not as good as The Dark Knight, but it's definitely very enjoyable. I think the best comparison I can give is that it's kind of like if you took the origin of Batman Begins and you mixed it with the campy and lighthearted tone of this first Superman movie, and you took like the action CGI of like a Hulk movie. That's basically what Wonder Woman is, except the lead is a female. That's pretty much what it is. With all said and done, I really hope you enjoyed my final conclusion and thoughts on the Wonder Woman film. Is it the masterpiece that everyone said it was? Not quite, but it is still a good movie, and it deserves to be watched and seen. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. Once again, if you've not subscribed to my channel, please do so. I'd really appreciate that. It would help out future content greatly, and of course the channel. And also check out my previously recorded and filmed Wonder Woman top 5 comic book writers. As you can see right here, I have the Rebirth DC Universe Wonder Woman comic, and of course I have a couple of George Perez lined Wonder Woman comics, which are featured heavily in my top 5 list. If you want more thoughts and opinions on those, you can check out that top 5 list. This has been my official thoughts on Wonder Woman. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you don't bother me in the comment section over my pronunciation of Wonder Woman. I do read those, and they do get annoying and hurtful. So, fuck off. You got a great movie, you got a whole bunch of awesome comics to read. So I bid you adieu. This has been Josh12, and I hope you enjoyed.